An NBA veteran just said Bronny James will be the top player in the US next year. And DJ Wagner just had an insane growth spurt where he grew to 6'5". Now let's break everything down. Now, first and foremost, we're talking about Bronny James. And of course, Bronny James, a lot of people criticize his game. At this point, he is going to be talked about the most because, of course, he has a lot of expectations that he needs to meet. Being the son of LeBron James, and of course, LeBron being one of the best players of all time, you're going to have to fill big shoes, and Bronny James is no exception to this. Now, besides all the things that have gone on off the court with Bronny James, a lot of people do actually have faith in him. Now, Gilbert Arenas, who you guys should know is an NBA veteran and a huge star in the NBA previously, actually stated that Bronny James was going to be the next best player in the US next year. Now, this is very interesting. A lot of people were kind of wondering, why did he say this? Now, he actually broke it down in a recent interview, and he stated that since Bronny James is playing against such great competition every day, and specifically in practice, think about it, even a few years ago, he was playing against people like Brandon Boston, Amari Bailey, and a lot of guys that were ranked very highly in the country for their respective classes. And when you do this, iron sharpens iron, and only makes Bronny better. Now, although Bronny James, of course, is not averaging 30 points a game, and in addition to that, he is not playing as of right now, and Sierra Canyon is not playing as of right now, but playing against such high competition, and especially in practice, will only make you better. Basketball is really a long-term game, and even though you have people, of course, like Mikey Williams, DJ Wagner, a lot of these other guys who are playing and averaging about 30 points in their respective leagues, we have to give credit and notice that Bronny James is playing against very good competition as well. If Bronny James is playing against these guys and specifically practicing with top players in the country every single day, what do you think is going to happen? Eventually, when these guys do graduate, Bronny James is going to take over. Now, that was the gist of what Gilbert Arenas did say, but I completely agree with this. The amount of times I've heard that Bronny James is overrated and that he is not that good, but people really don't look at who is he playing against. If Bronny James is going against top competition every day, he's going to end up being one of these guys who is the best player very soon on his team. Now, when the guys that are really good and these older guys that he's playing against, of course with Amari Bailey, when they do graduate, man, Bronny James is going to shine ridiculously because, of course, he's been waiting his time and also putting in a ton of work. Man, you don't have to tell Bronny James to get in the gym, and obviously if he didn't want to play basketball, he really didn't have to, but this is just a time where he's continuing to put in that work and chooses to get after it, and man, it is going to pay off in the long run. Although he's not averaging a crazy amount of points, it is not showing out like a lot of these other high recruits. Man, playing against the best competition is one of the best things you can do for your overall career, and Bronny James for sure is getting it done. Now, of course, if an NBA veteran is talking this highly about a player, man, that is something to take into account. So really, we should not be calling Bronny James overrated, but look at what is going on and the obstacles he's facing and who he's playing against. One of the biggest things that we have to notice. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with Gilbert Arenas? And do you agree with my opinion? Do you think Bronny James is going to be one of the best players in just a few years? Or do you think he's overrated and is really not the player that everyone thinks he's going to pan out to be? Now, a huge fact to this as well is that Bronny James genetics are another huge thing. Of course, having LeBron James genetics, man, when those start to kick in, Bronny James for sure is going to show out. I think, of course, genetics is one part because that's not something anyone can train. Your body and how tall you are and really how you move on the court is something that you'll inherit. And of course, getting LeBron James genetics, man, Bronny, odds are he is going to be very tall and he's going to be mobile, which is only going to help him in the long run. Now, lastly, the other thing which I mention a lot of times is the mindset. Now, one huge issue I see here with this logic is that Bronny James is basically going to have the same mindset as a lot of these top other recruits, and that is just not the case. Bronny James, of course, comes from a privileged family, and although he comes from a privileged family, does not mean he can't do well on the basketball court. But the same type of motivation that Bron had back in the day, Bronny will not have because, of course, basketball, he is not reliant on basketball. He has other options and other avenues he can go. But as far as him being in love with the game and really playing basketball because he enjoys to do that, that is pretty much his motivation. I think we must point out that the motivation between him and his father are not the same, but he can still be an excellent player. And I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how Bronny James does in the long term. But you guys let me know as well, do you think his genetics are gonna kick in soon? Is he's gonna grow even taller and be more dominant on the court? And what about his mindset as well? Do you think Bronny James has the right mindset to really do well on the basketball court? Now, on the other hand, we are talking about DJ Wagner, and of course, man, this is a guy a lot of you guys know. He's the #1 player in the class of 2023, and man, he has offers from everywhere. But what most recently happened, and even Overtime put out a video about this, stating that DJ Wagner has grown to 6'5". Now, this is huge news because, of course, man, when you start growing taller and really being more of a point guard as well, which DJ Wagner is, man, he is going to be one of these players that is untouchable. If you're averaging about 20 points per game and you're a point guard, but you're growing to 6'5", and maybe even once he gets to college, maybe he hits another growth spurt, maybe even gets to 6'8", he's going to be unstoppable on the court. Now, previously he was listed at about 6'3", but I think if he really gets this other height, this is going to take him to another level. I think a lot of these other recruits that are maybe close to him or people compare him to, like Mikey Williams, man, I don't see it happening if he gets this tall. Being a guard that can do a lot of stuff on the court when you're tall puts you in a whole nother category. Look at someone like Emoni Bates. Since Emoni can dribble the ball and almost act like a guard even though he's around 6'8", changes things forever. You can't really compare him to shorter guards who can do the same, because at the end of the day, he's taller and can do more. It's just like people like Kevin Durant, for instance. He can shoot the ball, dribble, he's athletic, can dunk the ball, and when you have all these in your bag, it really sets you up for the long run to be a prospect who, man, no one can really touch at the end of the day. Now, even in one of DJ Wagner's most recent games, he had 29 points and 5 assists. Now, this guy's going to be a beast, and especially if he has actually grown to 6'5", man, odds are he's probably not done growing, and he is going to be a monster in the near future. Now, I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below, do you actually think DJ Wagner is the best player in the class of 2023, or do you think it's Mikey Williams or someone completely different? But for sure, he is going to be scary on the court, and I gotta give it to him. And a big mystery is where DJ Wagner is going after high school. Now, of course, there are a whole lot of options starting to open up, especially for him, since he's going to be in the class of 2023. Odds are the rule going straight to the NBA, he'll be able to do that. So we have no idea what route DJ Wagner is going to take, but I think he's going to be one of these players that by the time he's a senior, he is a monster, and we are going to see. He could easily go to the G League and play there, as well as if he wants to go to college, and man, maybe he'll be able to go straight to the NBA and might be one of the first players in very recent years to do that. So you guys let me know, where do you think he's gonna go? But make sure to comment down below, what do you think about Bronny James? Is he overrated? Do you think he's actually gonna make it to the next level? And do you agree with Gilbert Arenas? And also DJ Wagner, what do you think about this insane growth spurt? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications to get a new notification every time I upload a new video. Selling H&M out.